So we are going to start a big subject now, the good old topic of change, of impermanence, of the world being a process. Actually, all Dharma is contained in that. This means all wisdom of the world, of that which liberates, is contained in understanding change. So this is because change is the same as life. There is no life without change. And I hand over to Johan immediately to take us in from...
So throughout the universe?
Yes, from the universe to the microbes.
I think it is something that everyone knows so well. Yes, like when we start from the talking about the obvious change. Let's say the change on a growth level, the change in nature, the change in seasons, the change in weather, the change in all of these experiences that we have every day that are so obvious, so direct, so real, and yet somehow we function as if things were stable. Yeah. So I think that very interestingly, we are totally aware of change. We are not on this level. We are not, nevertheless, living it in a fluid way. So usually we see the change, we notice the change, but we experience resistance to change. And that is, you can say, the basic problem, the basic suffering. Yeah? Resistance to change could be a good translation for dukkha, yeah? Suffering. And for us practitioners, somehow, with the help, in these cases, we speak about the general, the outer change, with the help of our contemplation in nature, being in contact with that, being in contact with looking at all these incredible movements and shifts taking place constantly. We are actually using that as a reminder for and as an encouragement to tune in to the change. Yes, tune in means to actually see the resistance and see how it can be released. Yeah, how it can be released. So if it is not nice weather today, if it's raining today, can I still fully enjoy my day as if it was sunny? Yeah? If I go in the rain with the feeling that this is so much less interesting than sun, then automatically there is resistance to change. Yeah? This judgment, these preconceived ideas or preferences are very much coming in the way. Yeah? There is not really a capacity to flow along with the change. So our practice, you can say, our meditation, our path is very much about discovering how to tune in, how to relax this resistance, how to see also the how harmful this resistance is. Yeah, how much it is actually, how much tension it is creating. Thank you so much. Please, Tilman.
Time for change. Time is change. There is no place in the universe where there would be no change. And I just want to guide you through the traditional considerations. You should know that already 800 years ago, in Tibet at that time, we know it very precisely, but probably even earlier, these awakened masters were aware that this universe consists of 10 billion galaxies, combining into a universe and billions of universes combining again. They were already aware of it. They were giving exact numbers for this, which are pretty much like we know it today. The light we receive from the universes the furthest away is so old that it gives us an idea of how these universes were created, because they have to travel millions of light years. It's incredible. The light we are seeing from the stars is the changing impression of something which is not like that anymore the moment we see it. So we see stars exploding long ago. The light reaches us now. And the illusion is created, this is happening now. And the second illusion is, it will always be like that. This is how the stars are, this is how how do you say, firmament, I don't know, the sky, the space of the stars in the sky is. And we have this representation. And we know that every planet out there is boiling with energy, like ours. Every bit of the universe is emotion, not only clusters of nebula, of stars, and so on. That is black matter, of which we know very little, but it's so much more powerful, and its gravitational force is 5 times more than the planets we can see. They're comparatively light. And it's holding together the universe. There is so much we don't know. It's all energy. It's forces of an incredible intensity, holding, so to speak, that together. But they're not holding it in place. It's constantly moving. And we are trying, in this world of change, we are trying to create something stable. Our planet is rotating in this way, actually, because the sun is rising there, so our Earth is rotating all the time. We are living on a thin crust on the lava, on this boiling planet. We are just at enough distance and enough proximity to the sun in the middle of our solar system that we are not getting burnt and not having too cold. It's very precarious, and it changes, of course, with the seasons, with the axis of the planet changing constantly. Everything in movement. The tectonic plates still moving under each other, over each other. Where is stability? All forces, active, changing. And then you go in more and more. You come on this planet, the life on this planet, the trees, the rocks, everything movement. For some time we thought it's molecules. Now we know that molecules are atoms, and atoms are subatomic particles. In such an intensive movement that we have to say that in the center of matter, whatever you take as matter feels solid. In the center of matter, there is as much space comparatively as between the stars, between the galaxies, between the universes. What we think is solid is actually completely dynamic and has more space than anything that might be called matter, which on top is moving. Wow. It's so incredible. And we are doing a reality check. I told you, Dharma is all about being in contact with reality, to bring reality to our mind and not to go away into some kind of hypnosis of pretending things are stable. And such a epidemic or pandemic, if you want to say, like this coronavirus, it has happened many times before. Maybe the last one was the Spanish flu of that dimension. But we have other viral diseases traveling the globe. Just the transmission is different. We had AIDS, SIDA, HIV. We have so many difficult illnesses producing just another facet of change. So forever, since mankind can think back, within this change, humans were looking for something stable. And we want to know, is there something stable? Where shall we look? Pretended stability? If the Dow Jones, the DAX is rising every day, every week, every month as it should, is that stability? No, it's a dynamic which gives the impression of stability. It's falling for some, rising for others. It's like the trees. Some are falling, some are growing. That's life. So to take this deeply in, this is contemplation, and then go deeper with that on every level of existence. Universe, the planet, life on the planet, and Johann.
And Johann. And on this planet, on this tiny planet, because now we have this cosmic feeling and we feel really small. And this is not a bad thing, I think. Then within this planet, on this planet, we are still desperately trying to find a source of stability. And since we cannot find it in the cosmos, then we are trying to find it in the relationships, in the relations to other human beings, to other sentient beings in general, and especially to other human beings. So there is all of our dearest issues there. Yeah, how we so important for all of us human beings, our relationship, our partners, our families, our work relationships, and our friends, our enemies, and within this society, this micro society of each individual, you can say, actually there is nothing but change taking place all the time. But it is sometimes not very fast, and it can feel that some of these relationships are really reliable. For example, our family, our parents, children seem that it will always be our children, always be our parents, during this life at least. But if you look at the nature of the relationship between parents and children, at the nature of the relationship even in a partnership which is lasting very long, then so much change is happening. So much change is happening within the relationship. Relationship can actually, in spite of our attempts to keep it the same, sometimes, can only continue because it changes. Yeah? And so many of our friends, if you look over the years, have gone far away from us, or even have become people that we are not comfortable with. And the other way around, so many of the people that we were not so close to, not so interested in, have become very close, very dear to us. So many of these relationships, they are constantly going from one extreme to the other. Sometimes also in a very short time. Here in Grünerbaum, it's also happening that way. We have had quite a wind of change in the interconnectedness of our little society. Yeah? And somehow, I think here again, The problem is not that there is so much change, but the problem is, once again, the resistance to it in the very same way. So we have this kind of idealized vision or wish that if it would be stable, it would be better, because it would be more reliable, because it would provide a ground of security, because it would provide us finally with the safety, the safe home, the harbor that we need in order to be able to really relax, in order to be really ourselves. So basically, we are trying to confirm that we are really, really there by establishing a stability in all these changing, ever-shifting relationships. So that is where, that is what maybe Tilman could tell us a little bit more about this this change in the person now, in myself, yeah? The individual, how is this unstable, changing?
Yes, gladly. Who am I? Process, okay, changing. I was a baby in the arms of my mother, growing, becoming much taller than my mother. Now my mother is gone. She's not alive anymore. If things go well, then most of you are younger than me, then I will die before you. That's the nature. The Buddha called this birth, old age, sickness, death, the disagreeable signs of change. This is what we are mostly resisting to. We don't want maybe to get wrinkles and to look older. Definitely we don't want to look old. We resist. And inside, everything is changing. Feelings are changing, thinking processes, memories come up. Even the memories change, even they don't stay stable. Childhood is remembered always differently. Even that does not stay the same. So, where is the stability? We can come back to what we discussed about motivation. Certain forces are quite stable. Forces of motivation. The way one sees the world is more stable than the world. Our preconceived ideas are very stable. Our fixations are very stable. Until life proves the contrary, that they also cannot be upheld. Two 2,500 years ago, people were already asking this question of change. What is reliable in times of change? And the Buddha basically said to them, forget it. Don't look for something stable. Don't imagine someone outside change. If that person speaks or thinks, it's change. If there is feeling, there is change. Whoever we project outside, if there's communication, there is change. Actually, if you want something stable, you want death. Life is change. Stability, if it comes to the point, would be that everything goes into a freeze. No movement, no thought, no breathing, no growth, no decay. Freeze. That would be the end of change. Standstill. But there is no standstill. It's not possible. Life will always be changed. So the message is to be in harmony with life. to be in the flow, to be the flow. So when we will talk about meditation, we will talk a lot about being the flow, not observing the flow. We are not outside. This imagined observer, when we look into this observing attitude in our mind, actually it's dynamic as well. It takes different opinions, different viewpoints, it has different tastes, different preferences. The so-called me, the I, is also dynamic. Let's not even try to create something which resists the change. Not possible. All these efforts are just stress. They create suffering. When we look at life and how it is, if we resist the very nature of life, which is change, we are always going to have stress. Can you feel that? Is that clear? That wanting to have something stable means that this stability is not alive. So it can only be in the realm of ideas, fixed ideas. But experience is always changing. So if we become the experience, we will definitely be the changing experience of life. And in that, there is something continuous, which is also dynamic. We call it the nature of mind. We will learn more about it. This is where we are going to. The solution is there. To realize the dynamic nature of life, the dynamic nature of mind. In myself, I find no stability. Every cell is changing. Every aspect of my mind is dynamic. As I look at you, seeing, hearing, feeling, many other dynamic processes at the same time. A multi-dimensional dynamic reality. And the same is for you. So we are dynamic processes interacting with each other. And the certain stability we call you, me. Certain stability because it resembles the previous day, the previous months. There is a resemblance. And this resemblance creates the illusion of stability.
And our practice of meditation is to get closer, to get much closer to this seeming resemblance, to look how it is actually moment to moment happening, what is actually taking place, the flow which is actually unceasing. So by becoming more and more aware that it is so, by becoming closer and closer to that experience taking place all the time, then we start to relax the resistance to change. It is like acknowledging the constant dissolution that is taking place. Yeah? Everything is crumbling in the outer world, moment after moment, in this scale of so-called matter. And in the inner world, in the world of mind, in the world of mind movements, thought after thought, movement after movement, actually there is a constant arising and ceasing which is taking place simultaneously. Even the moment it arises is already changing. It is impossible to put it, to stop it, to put an end to the process. If you could really fix it, freeze a thought, then the whole universe would have to be frozen. Yeah, it needs to die each micro moment. You can take the smallest units of moment that your mind can imagine. Actually, it needs to die the moment it is born. It needs to die in order to change. It is dying, it's changing. And it's constantly happening, and you cannot, if you try to look very, very close, the smallest unit of this process, actually you cannot isolate it. It can still go closer, it can still go deeper. So this is a seeming, this stability that we are longing for is only based on, you can say, a gross observation. It is only based on an observation of the world and of the inner world, the mind, which is, like you can say, statistic. Yeah? There are certain elements that keep coming back, certain emotions, certain patterns, and we said, this is me, this is who I am. This is who I am because this is how I experience myself the most often. But when you start to look, to go into this moment-to-moment experience, actually, even these repetitive patterns, they are every bit, every micro moment impossible to see as same. They are constantly flowing, constantly different, actually. So, to practice meditation means actually to discover how to discover this quality in absolutely every moment of mind, every moment of experience, to see that it is constantly dissolving. And by seeing that, then relaxing the resistance to it is the way towards freedom. Because within this, by allowing that to take place, by relaxing the resistance, by discovering that anyway, resistance is also dissolving moment to moment, that there is no way to build up a real resistance. That's just another dissolution process. Actually, then, there is these qualities that Tillman was mentioning then at the end of his previous talk, these qualities which are like actually unchanging, the qualities of ungraspable nature, the quality of dynamic, the quality of taking all kind of forms. These qualities are ever present, but they are not something we can solidify as real, stable, as a self. Yeah? So, tuning into these true qualities, then there is possibility, constant possibility of freedom, moment-to-moment freedom taking place. This is why the Buddha said that the contemplation on impermanence, which is the one you can say triggering renunciation, giving us really a direction to engage, sense of emergency, to engage in the spiritual path. It is there at the beginning, and then the thought of death, very much stimulating us, the thought of that there is no time to lose. And then, in a deeper way, when we are going deeper on the path, actually this is what will lead us into insight, direct insight into the nature of our experience. Yeah? This experience of change is actually the key to freedom. So it works at many different levels of the path, as an incentive in the beginning, and then later on, again and again, as a catalyst of insight.